Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm Tony Pellegrino, and this is part of a Facebook Live Tech Talk we do every Tuesday and Thursday. Today, we have lots of cool stuff to share with you, so this is going to be a great day, great show, and I know you're going to dig it. So, of course, we're here to talk about my favorite subject, Jeeps, and upgrades for your Wrangler. So that's probably one of your favorite subjects. So we're here at GenRight in the studio to talk about all kinds of cool stuff today. Our topics today, roll cages, and of course we're going to do a walk around, kind of a whole review of Jamie's rebuild of the Growler, what he now calls version 2.0. So at some point I'll get Jamie over here so you can actually see him on the screen. So make your way over this direction. When we get there. Okay.
We
all
got
right,
Austin
as always.
on.
Who we
Tony,
got?
We got Austin on.
Austin.
Clint Monroe.
Nice. He was here
Ken
this
Brandt.
weekend.
Let's see. Deborah Carnell.
Awesome.
Byron Roberts.
Thank
Sam
you, everybody,
Walker,
for joining us. Sam,
Dennis
nice.
Sargent. Cameron Cole. All kinds of friends joining us.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so as always, we welcome, if this thing will work, your questions and comments. Debbie's here to read those. So pile them in, try and keep them topic related, please. I'll try to get to all of them. We got a lot to cover today. I'm wearing it today, our Tech Talk shirt that we had specially made for the 500 lucky people that signed up on our questionnaire. This is Mark from Florida, Mark Dossie. He's a LJ owner, fully GenRighted out, in fact, a couple of them. And if you haven't received your Tech Talk, I just talked to the gals across the street. The last 50 go out tomorrow. So we're right down to the end. Thank you for your patience. It took us a long time to get everything made. I thought we had a lot of this stuff in stock. That's why I picked those items, but we didn't have 500 in stock. So
a lot of people already commented saying they got theirs.
Good.
That's awesome.
Good,
Yeah.
good. So thank you all. Thanks for being fans. Thanks for watching the show. We really appreciate it. This is John Livingston, also a huge Tech Talk fan. Participated with him on the LJ Adventure a couple years ago.
Nice.
He sent me that picture that he had received his stuff. Totally cool as well.
John Miller just posted up that he's wearing his Tech Talk
Nice.
t-shirt for the
Actually
Tech
awesome.
Talk.
Yes. Appreciate that. Wear it. Everybody, wear your stuff in good health. I wish you guys all the best. I hope everybody's doing well. And we are grateful for you watching this show. I hope it's beneficial to everybody. So really, really awesome. Okay. And as always, if we don't talk about something that you're interested in, call in. I got people over there, live people. You don't go to voicemail here. You actually get a real person on the phone. And everybody who answers the phone drives a Jeep. So everybody knows what they're talking about. Call in, and we're happy to help you out. All right, featured product today. We've never talked about this, but it is a locking pin. I know this looks a lot like a hitch pin, like you'd use to lock your receiver hitch, but this particular one is for our tire carrier. So when you park at the airport or somewhere that you're worried about somebody opening your tire carrier, whether it's a swing out or swing down, this is the proper size. You just put this on, turn the key, and you are good to go. So really cool product. It's got a little rubber cap to keep all the grunge out, and comes with a couple of keys. These are in stock here. You can find them on our website or call in and talk to one of my guys. So we've never talked about this on our Tech Talk, so it was a great item. This is stainless steel, and I don't even think they're that much money, but a cool thing. All right, the other featured product today is roll cages. So we're going to talk all about roll cages. All right. So hopefully everybody can see the screen pretty well. We do have a roll cage here that as we start to go through this, we're going to talk about that here in the studio. But for now, let's take a look at the screen. So this is typical. This was one of our competitors. These guys are already long gone. But typical where cages are just made to look nice, but they're actually not going to function. So again, this is part of the reason, guys, that you are watching this show and you're working with us, because we've got a racing background. My crew here has hundreds of years combined experience, and we know how to build stuff so that it'll last. So here's another view. I'm gonna cut to another picture here. All right. So what happens is you see tubes that just go into nowhere. The tube should actually come more into the corner. The other thing I noticed about this cage is that there's no dash bar. What we know is that when you roll over, the A pillar is what takes the bulk of the load because the engine is up front, okay? So you can't just throw a few tubes and go, oh, woohoo, we got ourselves a cage. By the way, I purposely don't make a cage this way because if you were dragging along a rock, a branch, something, it's going to stop right here on this B pillar. I make ours smooth. So any one of our cages, you can drag along it and get yourself off. Ask me how I know, because I've done it. So here's another example of all these nodes that don't go anywhere. That is not a good design, guys. And you can't just throw tubes wherever you want because it looks pretty like a rock bouncer. That stuff doesn't work, all right? Especially when you're talking about this few tubes. Here's one of our cages. So our cages, everything ties together, and there's separate corner supports. Again, the smooth line like I was talking about. So if you're gonna drag along there, we've got lots of places to mount. The optional harness bar. There's just more tubes in one of our cages. You can see the dash bar up here, also with gussets. Just really well done. Guys, we've made these for almost 20 years, and we've got it pretty dialed. Here's a great example of our X bar in the middle of the cage. This would be the harness bar here. And the miters, or the notching on the tubes, is very, very complex. And everything ties through. So really important. These are all the details that I know are easily overlooked. So we're just pointing those out today. Okay, so actually I'm gonna go one more ahead of this. So you're a smart guy and you say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna build my own cage. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So just before this show, I called down and I figured out that 2-inch 120 wall DOM tubing, true DOM, is $4 a foot, okay? And you need 100 feet to build a cage like this. So assuming you make no mistakes, that's gonna be $400 in material and tubing, okay? Then, is your bender gonna be a mandrel bender like ours? Because ours is a mandrel bender. That means there's something inside that doesn't allow the tube to kink, okay? So chances are no. Are you gonna be able to do the complex notching that's required? These are very complex, guys, with keys to line up and hook in to the other tube. So that's certainly not gonna happen. So that means that you're going to have to find a level or a straight edge or something to match up every tube you put in. So every side of one of our tubes has notches, and we laser in the part number on every single tube. So it's super easy to follow along, okay? So then you've got all the base plates, which by the way are in 3 different thicknesses, but you're gonna have to cut, form, drill, tap. I mean, those things are not easy to make. So, okay, I'll give you another $100 for material. Then you're gonna spend 20 hours just making those plates. I guarantee you, because they're not easy. Oh, and don't forget, you have to make a left and a right. You don't just make 4, 5, 6 plates. Nope, you've got 12 or more to make. In fact, on a JK, it's a lot more than that. So you're going to spend 20 hours doing that. In the end, is your cage going to fit both a hard and soft top, factory hard and soft top? I doubt it. We've got the original Jeep CAD files that we modeled all our stuff from, and every little thing is welded in and dialed into the cage, okay? Then, I'm going to say for you to bend and notch and do all that stuff, you're going to spend another 40 hours, a week worth of time, okay? And by the way, I'm being very, very generous on all this, okay? Because I know you're going to spend more than a total of 60 hours here. And I'm going to say $40 an hour, right? It's your time. Now, I got news for you. If you know how to design, build, and you have all this equipment, if you're charging yourself $40 an hour for that level of experience, that's not even close to what it should be, okay? So even in then, it's $2,400 just in labor, okay? Assuming you have zero cost for all the equipment, zero cost for at least a 2-car garage to build and house all this equipment to build a cage, and zero cost for power that it's going to take to power all this equipment, you're at $2,900. You know how much a Generate cage like this is? $3,000 with every option, okay? So if you think you're ahead, I need you to think again. And this is fully designed. We've added extra pillars. All the harness bars are there. We've done everything for you, okay? And that doesn't include welding, so that's a whole nother expense on the deal. So now I'm going to back up. And you go, well, I don't have all that equipment. I'm going to go to the local shop and I'm going to get this done. Well, I got news for you. You're about to spend a fortune. So same 100 feet. Oh, by the way, he doesn't charge you $4 a foot. He charges you $5 because he wants to make another $1 a foot on the material, right? He's not in the business to give it away. So now you're at $500 instead of $400. And the base plate material, he's going to charge you another $50. And I'm giving it the same hours, right? But his hourly rate's $100 an hour. Trust me, if you're going to somebody that's even worth their weight in salt, they're going to charge you at least that to do this. So now you got $6,000 of labor, okay? In addition to the expenses. So now you're at $6,650, okay? Again, our cage, same price. And I guarantee you this guy's not going to design something better than we did. So we're still at $3,000. Now you're going to pay that guy $2,000 to weld it. Okay, so you're into your cage for $8,650. Well, I got news for you. That's a lot of money. So unless you're like Will Chamberlain or somebody huge that needs a special roll cage built, you're throwing your money away. Because I also guarantee you that you don't make that kind of money either. So, yeah. Anyways, all right.
Hey, Tone.
Yeah.
On this in between, we have a couple of
Sure. Yeah. Fire away.
Paul Kenneth asked, do you have to disconnect the battery or remove the computer when welding a cage in a JKU so you don't fry the CPU?
Yes. So I can tell you on anything we touch with a welder, you have to be very, very careful. And, especially in a lot of these new vehicles, the electrical systems are very sensitive. You want to disconnect the battery for sure. Okay. The other common problem when somebody's welding something, especially in a Jeep or on a Jeep, is they don't hook the ground to the proper location where they're welding. And we see fried brake lines, because it's a braided steel or something. It's going to go to the path of least resistance and fry stuff everywhere. So you got to be very, very careful. And I'm talking about these are guys with a massive amount of experience still make simple mistakes like that. I've seen Heim rods, they didn't connect to the right place, and these things weld together. I mean, it's so easy to make a mistake, okay? So do not overlook that, but great question. Mm-hmm. What else you got?
Corey Lone Wolf Picard said that when he installed his cage, the process was a total dream, completely notched and keyed, which was huge. You can't turn the tube in the wrong configuration. It just goes together perfectly and smoothly.
So of course, he was talking about a GenRight cage.
Correct.
Yes.
Scroll down on, he had another comment that said he took it to someone that builds cages, and that person would have charged $9,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I don't know if you could hear what Jamie just said. He took this cage to someone that builds cages all the time. They estimated they would have charged $9,000 to $10,000 to build the same cage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So gives you a good idea. By the way, if you buy my cage for $3,000 and then you spend a couple grand to weld it, that's half, right? You're still in for $5,000. That's half of what the guy just quoted him, right? So.
And also, I just wanted to give a shout out to our viewer, Stephen Horsch, who's actually in the hospital with his wife having a baby right now.
Wow. Watching Tech Talk.
It doesn't get much better than that, having a baby and watching Tech Talk.
Well, okay, all the more reason to have a cage to protect yourself and your occupants,
and
right?
The family.
Yep, got to keep everybody safe.
Congratulations, Stephen, and thank you for tuning in while you're having such an important day.
Awesome. All right. By the way, I don't know if you could see it, Alex, but this has the holes where the pins on the hardtop match up all the way around where the bolts go in. This is all TIG welded. I mean, this is, beautiful stuff. So really nice, all thick plates. These front plates, I think, are 5/16 thick. I mean, this is beefy stuff. Yeah.
Mike Stewart, top fan, asked if we have a fastback cage for a 2015 two-door JK.
I don't know. He'd have to call in. I don't know what we've got left in the way of two-door JK cages, but he should call in and talk to the guys. Yep.
Luciano, this is off topic. I'll save it for later.
Okay. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna keep whipping through here. So. We're gonna show you a couple of things about cage designs. Okay, so first off, here's typical JK that's yard sailed. All right, so if you notice, the A pillar, just like I said, with the weight of the engine in the front, takes a beating. Okay, B pillar did pretty good. It's a little twisted. Those doors are definitely not going back on. The back, pushed down, not doing well. And this is why in our cages we add a C pillar right here. We add an additional one because I want to protect the backseat passengers, right? So when you look at one of our JK cages, there's the extra enforcement. And by the way, that's all tubed in and reinforced. And we have adapters for the factory seat belts and shoulder harnesses. So you can actually run both. So this is super nice. That's one of our cages installed in a customer's Jeep. So you get, and we're not showing it here, but you get all the plates that tie it into this post and everything. So really, really nice. Okay.
Michael Rorick asked, how much for GenRight to build the roll cage for a 2012 JK Rubicon?
He'd have to call in, but I think it's either $1,500 or $2,000 for us to weld it. In addition to the cage,
itself.
Yeah. So, I know $5,000 is a lot of money, but it's it's like wearing a helmet. What are you worth?
What is your health worth? And your life.
And by the way, I don't know if you guys follow me very closely, but last October, I dumped the Terremoto over on its side out of Trail Hero. We just tipped it right back up and kept going. And I remember some of the wives that were along with us went, wow, I thought if you rolled your Jeep, it was just trashed. And, now I feel a lot better. You just tipped yours right back up. By the way, because I have my harnesses on, I was literally hanging in midair. And as soon as they tipped me over, we were going again, fired it up and kept going. So Jamie's over here laughing. So, yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah, I believe they gave you a water bottle with a straw so you could drink it upside down.
Now, fortunately, I had just told Debbie to get out of the Jeep.
Fortunate
Otherwise,
for you.
She wouldn't have been very happy. I can tell you that.
And Jeremy Bulkey asked if you recommend the X-Bar if the Jeep is primarily driven on road and only weekend warrior trips for off-roading.
So I do. The X-Bar really adds a lot of side stability, so the thing's not going to parallelogram on you. that is a key component. Now, we do a lot of, yeah, Alex, I don't know if you want to shift angles. There's a whole bunch of tubes put in here to stabilize. So we start back here at the back where you've got these tubes that help keep the cage from doing the parallelogram thing. You've got the X-bar, huge 2-inch tubes. And by the way, this still lets the seat go all the way. And if you're a tall guy, you're not losing any of your seat range. And then you've got the V-bar in the front, which helps to stabilize that too. In addition to, you know, the way the cage is designed, and you can see all these tubes run together, and they're tied into nodes that give the thing super structure. And the handles all act as additional gussets. So yeah, just, you know, really done nicely, and that's what you really want. More questions, Deb?
Yeah, Don Cars, for the metal roof for the cage, are the tabs big enough to use Zeus fasteners instead of the included hardware?
No, they're not, and you don't want to use Zeus fasteners. So there's a few things you need to know about the way we design these cages. So we went to 2-inch tubing on the JK because the vehicle is heavier, okay? And the specification that we use for the aluminum roofs is the same spec for Ultra 4. So it's 1/8 inch thick, 6061 aluminum, bolted on, and it has to be firmly bolted down every so often by a certain size hardware so it meets all the technical specs. And I can tell you, I have yard sailed at, you know, 100 miles an hour many times, and you want that aluminum roof. You know, you got big holes here on the top, and rocks, branches, all kinds of stuff can come through there. We even had another car hit us while we were turned over. So, and they hit right on our roof with that aluminum roof. So all of that really
at a high rate of speed.
At a high rate of speed. So, you know, again, this is like a helmet, man. This is your protection. So when it all goes sideways, you just want to make sure you're going to be able to walk away from it.
Our roll cages saved your life several times.
Several times. Yes.
I'm sorry to say,
yeah.
but.
Yep, Debbie's sorry to say because she's got a fat life insurance policy on me.
Chuck Williams, what about tying into frame versus just bolting to the tub?
Great question. So depending on what level of wheeling you're doing, okay? So if you're gonna race, that's a different level of specifications because what they're really worried about is not only you rolling it or crashing at a high rate of speed, but somebody else hitting you. So for racing, there's additional tubes that are put in just like Terremoto, including tying to the frame. For recreation, what this cage does is it protects the occupants. Look, if you roll your Jeep multiple times, it's gonna look like this thing, right? I mean, the cage, the roof is gonna be in better shape, but the reality is the rest of it's trashed. No, even, well, with our cage, it's going to still be erect, right? But the rest of this is hammered, okay? So I need you to be realistic. By putting a cage in doesn't mean it turns into a buggy, okay? What it does is it keeps you safe. Okay, so all of our cages, the way we sell them with 6 or 8 point tie-ins will allow you the safety, the extra precaution, and get you to walk away from it, okay? We could have used another picture. We have another picture on our website where a guy was flat towing his Jeep behind his RV. It came disconnected and went head on with a semi-truck. The thing rolled, it broke everything on it. The only thing left intact was the roll cage. And I can also tell you that we've got several customers who have wrecked their Jeeps like this, pulled just the cage out, put it in the next Jeep, and kept going. So the cage is one of those things. I mean, this, honestly, this is so much more structure than the rest of the Jeep has. Oh, and by the way, when you do upgrade and you take out your stock cage, it's literally as thin as something you'd buy at Toys R Us as a swing set for your kids. It's cheesy. And the fact that you drove around thinking you're protected, you're going to be like, holy cow, that was like sketchy. This, what you're looking at, one of our cages, this is the exact same spec to go racing. Okay, this is big 2-inch 120 wall, or in the case of like TJ, YJ, CJ, 1.75 wall, 120 wall, DOM. This is the good stuff. So, yep. What do you got?
Will Sanders, can you still run your hardtop with the Genrite cage?
Any Genrite cage, you can run your factory hard or factory soft top, 100%. Yep.
Andrew Harris asked Tony.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tony, where do babies come from?
This is not a birds and bees conversation. Okay, so while you're looking for the next question, I do want to mention a couple things. So we use these. We're going to see them on the growler here in just a second. We're about to cut to that. These are a set of mirrors that come from Scosche. This is a convex, so it's slightly bubbled. And these clamp right onto the cage up here really nicely. The clamps are sold separately, so you can buy them in 1.75, 2-inch, whatever. These mirrors swing out of the way, so you can tuck them in or put them out or whatever you want to do. I run these on Terremoto. We put them on everything. Silver Surfer, everybody's got these. The other thing that we all run is the Scosche fire extinguisher mounts. You're going to see those on Jamie's growler here in just a second. Really nice, quick release, you know, super easy to mount. And lastly, if you don't get our welded in grab handles, you can do their clamp-on ones that are really nice, like billet. And those are all great upgrades for your cage, in addition to the aluminum roof.
Ken Brandt, can you please discuss why you shouldn't tie the cage into a frame on a JKU? I have a lot of people argue with me about that.
Yeah, it's just because they don't understand. So what happens is when Jeep switched to the JK, the body mounts are much, much softer than the previous Jeeps. So there's a lot of movement on that. And what happens is if you were to cut a hole big enough in the floor to allow room for this, you'd be horrified on how big it was, number one, plus you're cutting away a lot of the body structure, plus, you know, now your family's gonna be able to see the ground going by at 60 miles an hour. It's not going to give anybody any confidence. So as we designed this cage, I worked with the guys at Jeep. Everything ties in right over the body mounts. Okay, so the direct connection is there. And we've got plenty of examples of smashed, rolled Jeeps with our cages. It works. Again, if you want to buy the $10,000 a month product liability insurance I have, you can design and build whatever you want. Go for it. So otherwise, you got to take my word for it. What else you got?
It looks like Val added in race-related cages are the ones with door bars and bars facing forward through the dash. The X-bar on our cage has the best triangulation to keep the humans inside the safest.
Yes. Of course, wearing your harnesses. The factory seat belts don't cut it. You got to wear harnesses with a 5th point.
Right.
Okay, just like we showed you when I showed you the seats.
And she added, if you are Wilt Chamberlain super tall, you need to lean the seat back. We need to modify the cage for your size. Or you can lower the seats, which is what we did in the Terremoto.
Which is what I would do, yes. Lower the seat. If you're that tall, you don't need to be looking at the top of the hood. Lower the seat. So, all right. Good idea.
John Chase asked, how do you become a top fan?
Val can answer that one.
Okay.
I think it has to do with how many times you comment and how often you're on. And
yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, Jamie's going to come around. Come on, Jamie.
Hang on, I got,
we got
a couple more questions before we flip. Sorry, honey.
Okay.
Before we flip to the growler. I got to find one, so I'll give you this one that I'm on.
We're halfway through the show, and I know everybody wants to see the growler. It's totally cool. So I've got some slides on the growler before we get to it. So just give me your question.
Casey Harpo, I'm sorry if this was already asked. Is our cage available in 2-door for JLs?
Not yet. So JL and JT Gladiator. Those cages are being worked on now. That's something that's coming. You can call in and get your name on a waiting list with my guys, and you'd be the first one group to get the cage. So
there's still a pre-order on our website.
There's probably a pre-order on our website, yeah, that you can sign up for and get notification. So, all right, more, or is that it right now?
Yeah, no, there was one from Luciano that I blew past earlier, so I wanted to
see if you can find it.
I'm trying to find it.
We're while Debbie's looking for that, I'm going to start talking about the growler.
Luciano Verduro.
Okay.
Early on, like first 10 minutes.
So if you know anything about GenRight, the company started with this Jeep. This was the genesis in which I built the first Jeep products and the first vehicle that we tested everything on. Okay. So it looked like this. And the reason I chose this picture is for a very particular reason. This thing was completely built out, of course, with our topic today, with a GenRight roll cage. This is my son Jordan, who I think was 13 at the time.
Yeah, Jordan's not
No, correct.
Jordan was driving.
Jordan is driving this.
It was retired.
It's on 42-inch tires. It's got Currie axles, V8 engine, right? This has got everything that everybody wants in a Jeep. The reason I chose this picture is because this was the last day the Growler drove. So he was at a competition in Azusa and broke the frame in this day, trying to win.
I knew that's where you were going.
So, yeah, you can see his little number on there.
It's all your fault,
He
Jordan.
probably should have, well, maybe 54 is not a good number for him. Anyways, so that is, did you find the comment from the gal?
I did.
Okay.
From Luciano, which I think is a
might
man.
be a man, okay, sorry.
Verdura Jr. Tony, curious about PSI. What do you run on a normal trail run with or without beadlocks? Would you run a higher PSI on off-camber trails so the tires don't fold on themselves?
Good question. So that depends on the tire. So if the tire you're running has the characteristic where it likes to creep, then yes, I would run a few pounds higher. The reason that we chose Mickey Thompson is because we did a bunch of testing before we agreed to work with them, and they're very good about not crab walking. And I actually demonstrated this with one of the engineers in my vehicle on high dive, this like crazy obstacle at Moab. And I can tell you that he was very, very impressed after that. So yeah, but typically I start the morning at 6 PSI, that is, not 6 a.m., 6 PSI, which grows 3 pounds as the tires get hot, so you end up around 8 or 9. So, and you can always count on 3 pounds. So, all right.
And Jordan added in, he won this race, by the way.
He did win this race.
Even though he broke the Jeep, he won the race.
Now, he crossed the finish line, but then he's like, hey, Dad, like, steering's not connected anymore. So, all right. But at least he won. All right. So, James, come on up here, buddy.
I'm coming.
All right. You could probably leave your phone over there. Like all young folks, they're tied to their phone. Okay, so I'll keep telling the story here, but you're going to need to chime in because the next pictures are some of your doing. So it got stripped down. This was the frame that was under it that got damaged.
That is where it started, yes.
Yes, so Jamie pulled this out of the yard and started working on it. If you don't know the story, he told me that he wanted to revive this Jeep. I signed over the title, and the rest was up to him. So he's been going strong on this.
And the rest has been up to me
months.
For the last 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months.
Okay, so immediately, yeah, he decided that it would be a good idea to cut this thing in half and turn it into the latest Tracer version, right?
Yeah, because this was just after we developed and came out with the Tracer suspension. So I was like, wow, that'd be cool to have it on the YJ. Like,
yes.
Why not just stretch it and put that on?
Yep.
So we just cut it in half. That's about it.
And for those of you that, because Jamie's rarely on this side of the camera, that haven't met Jamie before, he has his own special colored hat with a little growler on the side that I'm sure you can see on camera there. So Jamie has traveled all over this country with me many, many times, been wheeling with me at some of the places we haven't even talked about, and knows more about off-roading than he even realizes. He grew up dirt bike riding, and loves off-road, so there's a little background on Jamie. Yeah. And you're how old now?
30.
30.
Something.
30.
30, yeah. Okay, we're gonna keep going. That's Jeff, by the way. Okay, so here's the stuff sitting on the ground after you guys cut it.
Looks pretty sad right there.
But this was the beginning. You guys were working on the dash, right?
Yeah, trying to fit the dash, center console. Yeah, that was before we even had the cage in it.
Yeah, yeah, so.
Yeah. Good
stuff, huh? All right. And just, you know, if there's something you want to mention here. Okay, so this was one of the steps that I want to talk about. Yeah, so the corner guards, whether it's a CJ, YJ, TJ, or LJ, all have these same holes. So after he cut it, it was very easy to bolt that on. So this is an LJ corner. It happens to be one for tracer. And then he just repositioned the body right there and then added the filler piece.
Yep. I did have to shorten the frame a little bit.
Yeah, but we didn't know if that was the other frame because you got an aftermarket frame.
Yeah.
So.
Carry on.
Yeah. Okay, so.
So that's the standard fenders, but I just used those to position the grill and the core support and figure out where everything needed to go.
Yep. Yeah, because you were trying to determine body mounts and stuff,
yes,
right?
Yeah, body mounts.
Yep. It was put together and taken apart like a zillion times.
Yeah, more times than I can count. Yes.
Okay. Here it is again, apart.
Well, that's the aftermarket frame. What is it?
TDK. Yeah, Throttle Down Customs.
Throttle Down Customs. Sorry.
James, talk a little louder since you don't have a mic.
Well, I don't have a mic, so that's the thing.
Talk louder so Dad's mic will pick it up.
I can.
Yeah, so it's a Throttle Down Customs frame, but basically we cut the tub in half, positioned everything to figure out where the body mounts needed to go, and because it wasn't a stock frame, basically all the body mounts had to be modified heavily, and I think some of those are JK body mounts. Yeah, it was a process. But
Yep. Okay. I know there was a lot of mock-up involved, right?
Yes, a lot of
So now you got axles in there, and who's this that was helping you?
Richard Garrett.
Richard Garrett. Let's give Richard some credit, right?
Was the man behind
He was
the plan.
super helpful.
Without him, I don't think I could have got it done.
Certainly not waiting on me.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that was super
he was
sweet.
A huge help.
Very
huge.
Cool. There's James cutting off something. Yeah. So
I don't even know what I'm doing right there.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Grinding something.
Putting in the sway bar.
And those were the mock-up links. The final links we ended up using all Summit Machine 7075 links.
Yep. And you're running the Curry axles.
Curry axles.
Did you do our 26-gallon tank?
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the bigger one.
Specific for the tracer. Yeah.
Okay. So here's one of our tech tips. I wanted to bring this up. So, so that you don't damage the shocks while you're doing a lot of welding, we set these. It's just a piece of angle iron with 2 1/2-inch holes drilled. Yeah. So you put the bolts back in, and then you can do all your welding, or you can check everything at full bump without damaging a shock shaft, right?
Yeah, so, and you can literally use a piece of flat stock
to do it. Yeah. So, yep, pretty cool. I think you were just setting the front end and getting it welded, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. It's coming together.
Yellow wheels, which it doesn't have anymore. But
those were just some mock-up.
Temporary.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. Jamie had this whole corner of the shop that he was working in.
So so
these are the real shocks.
Yeah, so that was right after we got the tub work, the sheet metal work done on the tub.
Oh, and on the inside. I see the inside still too.
And I think the inside, it looks like that was in the beginning.
You were fitting it or something?
Yeah, like fitting it still, but I have all the stuff on the firewall.
These look like the actual tires and wheels.
Yes, those
actual
are
shocks.
Yeah,
so what shocks are those?
The King 2.5 internal bypass shocks.
Okay. And what's all that silver stuff on the firewall?
The silver stuff is the DEI heat protection. I forget what they call it.
Yeah, it's like their thermal blanket.
Yeah, they have a name for it, but it basically just sticks on the firewall, and you kind of cut it to fit. But it helps a ton.
Yeah, can you imagine not having that?
No, I could not imagine not having that. And I also wrapped all the exhaust with the DEI heat wrap stuff, so that helps a ton.
That's cool. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, you guys are putting together the motor and training and stuff.
That was, I don't know. So that is the LS3 we put in with
a bunch of upgrades.
Yeah, a bunch of upgrades. We got the heads machined, comp cams, provided me with a cam, a maximum transmission, turbo 400.
It's a built one, right?
Yeah, it's a built one, full manual reverse valve body. Obviously, comp cams sent me some valve covers. The fuel system is all Aeromotive, but it's a great setup.
Yeah, I think it works pretty good.
Can't complain.
Sounds good.
It sounds sweet.
Awesome. You know, we were just talking about cages. Why don't you start there?
So for the cage, poised with the problem of stretching a YJ, and we don't make a fastback cage for a YJ, I ended up using an LJ fastback cage, but it's got the YJ stanchions in the front. We did have to make some modifications, like we had to shorten the C-pillar a little bit, and
but minor in the scheme of things.
Super minor.
Yeah.
I think I had to cut a couple tubes.
Yeah.
The X-bar tubes had to be custom on the bottom, but overall, it came out better than I could have imagined, with less work than I would have imagined. And the aluminum roof for the LJ fastback cage happened to fit perfectly.
Just fine. Yeah. And I see you did the filler piece.
Yep.
Up
so
at the
we did
windshield.
the filler piece.
And
yeah,
then,
all of that was totally flawless.
So the one thing I know that you did that I figured we'd mention is you lowered this bar since you've got our dash.
I did lower the dash bar.
So that you have the whole windshield.
Yes. Yeah,
which is pretty
so
cool.
when I'm sitting in the seat, I literally see right over the dash bar, and you just barely see that black line on the bottom of the windshield, and then barely see the front of the hood. So to me, it's the perfect height.
Getting all the visibility.
Yeah, and then obviously we did the full Genrite dash, center console. I went with the Holley HP EFI display, computer, a Lawrence GPS. Did the 8 switch pros thing, and that's awesome.
And you did a race radio?
I did a rugged race radio and intercom with Bluetooth, and that's awesome. Like plugging those headsets in and just being able to like listen to music and talk to the passenger is pretty darn cool.
And what's this? What normally goes here in the middle?
Normally there's a little iPad that goes in there, which I seem to leave at home every day.
And here's another good cage option: the Scosche rearview mirror.
Yeah,
so
that's the mirror.
Yep.
And then these are the side mirrors.
The side mirrors right here. Yep. So pretty nice. And you did our quick release steering wheel.
Yes, I did.
Which is cool.
Still need to see it painted.
And then Let's see, the twin sticks. We didn't talk about that. We talked about the engine transmission. What's that?
That is an Atlas transfer case. So it's obviously selectable front and rear. It's got obviously a high and low, which you could select front and rear. So you could do front digs, you could do, you know, drive it two-wheel drive on the street.
And what ratio do you go with?
Oh, I think it's a 3. Is it a 3 to 1? Yeah.
Yeah.
I plan on putting in seat heaters, which is a little fancier.
Right,
but
right.
That's beside the point.
And you did dual batteries back here.
Yeah, so I did dual Odyssey batteries.
You just put in the cargo rack, which is cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can look at that. The mounts on mine are different because the whole inner fender bed structure is different. This was basically the first prototype. But yeah, so I mean,
nice.
It's in there.
It's solid.
It's solid. Yeah. Just big enough to fit. I think it's a 17-inch tall cooler under here. When I put in I just got these from Summit. But I also have the lock-in loads for, you know, if I want to shove something up here.
Yep.
Or next to the cargo rack or whatever.
Cool.
And I got the Vision X dome lights, and
you got the LED flush mounts on the back.
Yeah, flush mounts. I got a rear bumper plate.
So let's keep going around. So what rear end you got?
It's a Curry 70 rear end.
So it's a full float 40 spline.
Full float 40 spline. The front is a Curry 60. I think they call it the Extreme now.
Okay. And just keep walking and talking.
We have the Genray mini boat side tracer rockers, obviously.
Yeah, they're a little longer.
They're a little longer. I think it's the bar is
longer. The bar is longer, right? With the longer dimple die plate. Yeah. Yep.
And then obviously the Summit Links, which I talked about.
Yep.
We have Unark head louvers. We got Sparco seats.
JE Rail drive shafts.
JE Rail drive shafts, which it's hard to see from up there.
Yeah. And you did do a worn winch on the front. Which model did you go with?
I went with the 9.5 CTI.
Yep. Nice.
Obviously synthetic
Yep.
synthetic rope.
Yep.
And I also have a Vision X 12-inch light bar on the front, or 10-inch.
Cool.
And the Factor 55
cool.
flat line.
And
yeah, I mean,
what'd you decide to go with on brakes?
How could I forget about that? Which it's insanely hard to see from any of these angles.
Yeah.
But R1 Concepts helped me out with some brakes, and I can tell you, I could lock up these 40s on asphalt like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So
you've got 6 piston front with 14-inch rotors.
Correct.
And 4 piston rear, and I think they're like 13 and 3/4 inch rotors.
Yeah, they're almost the same
14,
size. Yeah. And I could not be happier with those on and off road.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah, it's great.
And then in addition to the King IBPs, you've also got the hydraulic air bumps, right, that we call them?
Yes, yeah, of course. I have the 2-inch King hydraulic bump stops.
Okay. Why don't we pop the hood?
Are
and show
also
everybody?
a lifesaver.
Oh, you're also running our hood louvers too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's show everybody the engine. It's a little dirty still from Moab.
It's a little quite not there yet. But yeah, like I said, Aeromotive provided me with the fuel system, regulator, all that stuff.
And it's got dual pumps in the back.
It is dual
in-tank.
Dual Phantom intake pumps.
Yep.
Griffin.
Radiator.
With the radiator.
Yep.
K&N, obviously
filters. Yep.
Yeah, both filters. And then we went with Howe power steering, which is very nice.
It's a pricey upgrade, but I know you think it's worth it.
Yeah, that's definitely worth it. Yeah, again, DEI, we had to coat a bunch of the hoses and stuff in
special heat wrap.
Yeah, like wrap to keep it from melting near
and
the
you've
headers.
got their spark plug, insulator things and everything.
Exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean.
So, you know, this ended up being a little bit bigger project than I think everybody thought it was going to be, right? Like you were virtually starting from scratch.
Yeah, I may as well have started from scratch. I mean, I don't know how else you would have done it though.
Yeah.
Turning a YJ into something with the Generate Tracer kit on it.
Yeah. And are you happy you went through all that to get the wheelbase and everything?
Oh, I totally am.
Yeah.
And if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have learned as much. You know, because now I came from Razors, so it's like I know everything metric, but learning everything about Jeeps, and they're like, yeah, 7/16, you know, 5/8, whatever. It's like 8 months of that. Now I know this thing inside and out. So I'm definitely glad I went through that process, because I wouldn't want to be on the trail and not know what I needed to work on my Jeep. Like, you know?
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, it was a lot more than I originally predicted.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't familiar with the Tracer, the motor is down very low inside here, and this is our accessory bracket that mounts the alternator and the power steering. So he's got a few of the things on here, this bracket kit here. So it's got a little idler on there, but it gets the proper wrap on everything, so that's real nice. And this was a junkyard LS3, right?
Well,
but then we went through it.
It was through a company that, you know, dyno tests them and pressure tests them to make sure they're not like blown up.
Yeah. So low miles.
Yeah, so low miles. But then we took it apart, checked everything, got the heads machine, put a cam in, obviously new push rods.
Yeah.
But pretty minor. I mean.
Yeah, you did some aftermarket rockers and.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean the head's got bigger valves and they're ported and stuff too. So. Yeah.
So I mean.
Runs good.
Sounds good.
Runs good. Yeah. So. And Deb, what do we got in the way of questions?
I have several cage questions.
Okay.
I don't see related growler questions yet.
Okay. Well, we did a good job going over the whole thing. So, yeah. All right, I'll go in and answer cage questions. All right. And for those of you that want to learn more about the growler, on the website, under galleries, it's the second item down that would pop down like this, that it says Growler V 2.0, and that would be where you'd look for more information on that. All right. What do you got, Deb?
All right. Sean Gentry would like to know if he would need to change anything regarding his cage when he upgrades to the EXS suspension.
To the EXS suspension? No. Everything there will cross over, and in fact, what we were talking about before with the softer body mounts, they're even softer on the JL. But as part of the EXS frame, we upgrade the body mounts to a really heavy-duty body mount. So when you mount the cage, it'll be directly over those heavy-duty body mounts. And by the way, that's another tech tip. We make heavy-duty body mounts for everything. TJ, LJ, YJ, CJ, JK. So you can upgrade those and it'll keep things together a little better.
VB Tom, I think he's referring to this cage. He refers to it as the mega cage. Is it necessary for moderate wheeling? Concern is only flop, not high-speed crashes. He doesn't drive it on pavement.
Sure. I can tell you that we just had this example the other day. Somebody said the exact same thing, and then somebody hit them on the street, and they ended up rolling. So because you drive a high profile vehicle, it doesn't take much to get the thing on its lid. So although I think a lot of people have that same thought, like, hey, you know, I'm not a crazy wheeler, I shouldn't need this. You know, it's really an inexpensive upgrade, I'll call it, for your safety. So if you can at all justify it, I would highly recommend it. Yep.
2 related questions, one from Carrie Lynn and one from Corey Horton. Okay. Is the JL cage in production yet? If so, what's the estimated availability? And if not, is there still an active waiting list?
There is still an active waiting list. No, it is not in production. It's in prototyping and in design. So that's a pretty lengthy process for us to be able to get it so it fits with the factory hard tops and soft tops. So we go through quite a process to get all that done. We can't always just rely on the CAD files. We have to build it, we have to try it, we have to install it. You know, then of course, you know, how much of the factory plastic gets to get kept or not. You know, we need to be able to disclose that to everybody. So there's a lot of considerations. Yeah, trust me, we're working on it. I need one for my own, so it's on the fast track, to say the least. So, what else you got?
Michael Rorick, how much money to build a cage for me for a 2012 JK Rubicon?
So the cage kit is $3,000. It actually starts at $24.99. And then depending on what options you want, and then it's about $2,000 to weld it. So if you want us to install it, that's more, that's a whole nother thing, because we weld it in a fixture so that it's absolutely to the factory spec, and you know, so it'll drop right in your Jeep. It's a much better way to do it. If we weld it in your Jeep, you spend a lot more time trying to cover stuff up, like the dash, to keep it from starting on fire. So. Yep.
And then there's shipping, of course, on top of that.
Shipping,
which is
yeah.
freight,
I don't know where he's at, but
which
yeah.
is freight.
Yeah.
So
it's not cheap to ship it. You'd be, if you don't live close to here, you'd be way better off to have somebody build it close to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Which our guys could help them find a qualified.
Yes, we've got qualified shops all over the United States.
And will the cage for the 2012 JK work with full doors?
Yes. Yeah, there was interior change where part of the door panel needed to be trimmed a little bit. I think the 12 was okay. I think it was later than that, but yeah, it's minor. So.
Paul Kenneth, what's the weight of the JKU 4-door cage with add-ons?
This cage is 349 pounds complete.
Colby Scroggins, with JK2 and 4 doors, do Best Top soft tops work with them?
They do. Best Top is one of the companies that builds their products to be like in the factory spec. So you'll be fine with those. Yep.
And Thomas Scott also asked, still use we're trying to read my writing, still use hard top and soft top with the aluminum roof?
Well, the aluminum roof has to come off in order to put the hard top on. I believe you could do it with the soft top, but there's holes, you know, in the top of the tubes that, you know, locate the hard top. So you got to be able to get to those. So, yep.
Justin Watkins, we want to use the back seat for little ones. Is the clamp-on harness bar sufficient, or is an X-bar the best option for them getting into the back seat?
A clamp-on bar is better than nothing, right? Remember, like I told you guys in one of my previous tech talks with the seats, the lap belt and the 5th point are what do all the work. The harness bars just keep you from knocking your teeth out on the dash or the steering wheel. So you're not trying to compress your back. You don't want to do that. So when we put all these bars in here, it's to add strength to the cage. So, you know, does it need to be this beefy for just a harness bar? No, but it's part of the structure. So, and you know, when we're building a cage like this, it's just a few more bucks as a manufacturer to do it the right way than it is to cheese out and do it the not right way. So, yeah. And I should also add, even if you do the aluminum roof, it's only, I don't know, probably 20 bolts and the thing's off. So it's not that big of a deal to take the aluminum roof off if you want to put your hardtop back on. So I should mention that. And you can see the little factory GPS antenna mount we also include that as part of the cage as well.
Jeff Perkins would like to know if he can buy the hat that Jamie is wearing.
Ah, nice. No. Limited, even more limited edition than my yellow hat.
I was...
Two in existence.
Two, yes.
Yeah.
But did you make your girlfriend matching one?
I did.
You did.
Aston Schroeder likes it, by the way.
It's cool. Yeah. So. What else we got?
I think you already answered this one. Yeah. Sean Gentry, need to make any changes to the jail cage with the AXS suspension? He just asked it twice.
Okay. And Mr. Richard Garrett did come over here and join us for late in the broadcast, but Richard, anything to mention on the growler that you know, we didn't already mention?
We should do a walk around together.
Yeah.
We can ask some questions. It was a fun build.
Yeah.
We're happy to do it.
So he had a good time doing it, is what he said. It was a lot of work.
Jamie owes you big time.
They spent a lot of hours.
Jamie realized.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
yes.
sure.
It was more work than I realized.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys just kept working on it. I'm like, isn't that thing done yet?
Well,
like, what's going on?
Thing after thing and
Yeah. And a lot of it was around that frame where everything had to be modified. So.
You're trying to turn a YJ
into an LJ. Yeah.
And use a custom frame, and I mean everything was custom.
Everything they touched turned into something custom. It really turned out nice. It absolutely did. And if you go over to our gallery and check out the pictures on the website, it's really nice looking. And you know, he and I are going to be going to Rock Junction and several other events, so you'll get a chance to see it. Yeah.
Russ Tummel, do you need to cut the frame and stretch it to put a tracer kit on a YJ?
Yes. Otherwise, the closest thing you could do is our TJ tracer kit. It would take a bunch of work, but it is possible. So you can call in and talk to Jeff Perkins. He put one on his TJ, and he'll be able to fill you in on what it would probably take. So it's definitely possible. It would be less work than this one. Yeah. But otherwise, I would recommend our Legend kit, which we've had for years and years and years. And on the Legend kit, you can do a double triangulated or single triangulated. Fits right on the YJ beautifully, so don't forget about that one too. And again, you can call in and talk to our guys. What else you got?
Dennis Sargent asked if that stretch would work for the CJ body.
Yeah, you could do a CJ7 like that. Yeah. Because the YJ tub and the CJ7 tub are really close. And by the way, we're not far away from being able to offer that whole interior kit. So the two inner fender wells and the floor that already has the cutout for the fuel pump access. I just signed off on the design. And actually, Alex, can you spin around? One of the things that I want to show people is maybe from this side right here. You can, oh, okay. What we did was this upper inner fender well has a flange bent onto it, so the bolt that holds the corner guard on is also the same bolt that holds the inner fender in. So, and Jamie also installed our corner guard backing plates, but it makes the install really cool and clean. And you know, it's just the way it was all designed to fit together. You know, this is all laser cut and CNC, you know, formed and everything. I mean, it's really, really nice. So we also have one like this coming for the TJ, from a TJ to an LJ as well. So I know this is popular. I know every guy that's got a Fortune in his Jeep would love to do this. So we're definitely working on that for everybody. So keep your eyes out for that. It's coming soon. We're almost done with all this stuff. So, all right, what else you got, Deb? Debster?
It's 1:00. It's
Oh, we're
10
a little
after.
Okay,
so
well,
it's about time.
We're about time.
We got the meat of it. There's going to be a few you'll need to
Okay.
Answer on the side.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we covered a lot of stuff, and cages is an important one. It's also, we know for a fact, the last thing most people do, and it should be the first thing most people do, because when you're inexperienced, you're more likely to make mistakes. So, yeah, don't put off getting a cage. We've designed them for the most amount of headroom, the best interior room, the most protection, and to work with hardened factory soft tops. So yeah, we've done all the homework, and hopefully after I showed you how the costs add up fast, you can see that it's a pretty good value for what we're selling it for. All right, so with that, I'm gonna conclude the show. Thank you all for joining us.
Who's doing Thursday's show?
Thursday, Jeff Perkins is going to do the show. He's going to do a walk around of his Jeep. I think Jordan's going to come on and talk about where he's at with his Ultra 4 car. And I'm sure there'll be some other tomfoolery going on while I'm not here. Probably some little guy racing on their foam track. So anyways.
Nana likes the decal.
Tune in, and you'll see lots of fun stuff on Thursday. I'll be back next Tuesday with another great episode. Alex and I just talked about it. It's about getting ready to go camping, right? We're coming into that time of the year, and we want to get everybody prepared. There's a lot about it, how to pack, what to pack. And I'll probably even have some lists that I can email out to you guys. So lots of good stuff. And that'll be next Tuesday after Jeff's episode this coming Thursday. So, all right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.